Okay, Megavanan everyone, welcome to another review. This is my review for War of the Rohirrim. It is January 31st, 2025. There were a couple movies I recently watched. Well, three of them. One of them was Nosferatu remake, which I did a review of already. This one would be War of the Rohirrim, but the other one I will do, I guess, another review, but was Craven. And I'm trying to think, I saw something else, but that's okay. I think it was Scream 6, but it's like my second time watching it. But War of the Rohirrim, it is animated, and of course it takes place in the Peter Jackson universe of Lord of the Rings. Supposed to be taking place, I guess, sometime before Lord of the Rings, because I think there comes a point in that film where you see a bunch of orcs or goblins. I think maybe they were goblins. But they were searching for or collecting rings to bring back to Sauron, right? So there's a little part, where you see that. I know a lot of folks and critics were hating on this film. It really wasn't all that great, I'll have to say. Of course it's a war between, I think her name was Hera. She's a shield maiden. I guess she's supposed to be I don't think one of the first, but a shield maiden of Rohan. Forgive me, I've never read the books. I just seen the movies. I love the movies. I don't get too too involved in or I don't even care to learn too much about. It's just so complex with Lord of the Rings, like every little detail, with it. But basically, she's a shield maiden of Rohan, and she was friends with some boy. His name is Wolf, I believe. And during a sparring match, or not really sparring match, but when they were young, they were goofing off, and she accidentally cut him in the face, like around in the eye area, and she left a scar, on his eye. It didn't blind him, but he has a scar. Now that, he was of course pissed by that, but that wasn't, they still remained friends. It wasn't until years later when Wolf's dad, which was voiced by, I do recognize this voice, by Brian Cox, voiced by him, and he got into a fight with, again, I think her name is Hera, but the shield maiden, her father, and then during a fist fight, Brian Cox accidentally killed him in the fist fight, and that's why it's called War of Rohirrim, because that starts a war, sort of like I don't know if you would call it like a civil war, but because it is within, I guess, the Rohirrim country, but it caused a war between those two factions, and that's basically what the film is about. Now the problems with that is I kind of found it a little bit boring, and it is a little over 2 hours long, like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I just found it boring. It didn't capture me like the Lord of the Rings live action films by Peter Jackson, and also the Hobbit films, as I think all six are superb films. I love all 6 of them. And they try to show a connection, of course, and they really want to let you know that it is part of the Peter Jackson, realm, because they use the soundtrack, the Rohirrim theme. Dun, 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 right? Dun, 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 dun. I don't know how to, something like that, So they used that when the movie was opening up, and then you hear this narration, which is kind of similar to how the narrator, the female narrator, opens up the film. I think this one was a female narrator as well, but so there's that. But the other thing was the frame rate I found with it's beautifully animated. It is anime, but the background looks like the background looks far more grandiose, I thought, than the actual anime of the characters. It looks realistic. It looks dark when it has to be, and then the shadows and everything. It's very full of detail. The woodwork and the intricacy and the carvings were, very detailed. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The sky, the lighting, everything perfect. And when you have the characters come in and it's an anime, they're slightly jarring, I feel, and the color, it's slightly brighter than everything else, because it just really looks like they took just like how and this is not bad, but it's like an old school technique, but like with the old Tom and Jerry's and Hanna-Barbera, the Tom and Jerry cartoons, you notice how the animation in that, with the background of the house, it's all beautifully hand drawn, handcrafted, painstakingly, and it's very full of detail. It's almost like you have the painting and then you put the characters on top of it. It's an old animation technique. Disney uses that technique back in the day, with the different cells and the layering. I'm not exactly sure how they did it here, but it just looks it would be fine if the animation was also, if they just kept it like a Western or European animation style. Like, let's take Fire and Ice, for example. What was the guy's name? Ralph Bakshi or something like that. Did he animate? I think he animated it. But that kind of animation style, everything matched, the background and the characters. This one, it was quite jarring, I felt. And then the frame rate, it was a little like, what is it? Like it's stuttery, or it's a little it's stuttery, jagged. The frame rate was really weird. Like, it's kind of moving in slow motion, but it wasn't in slow motion. But yet it has a slow motion effect. When things move quickly, that's when it really becomes apparent. So I have to say the animation was still beautiful when it comes to the background. The anime is fine, but I think they kind of clashed. Plus the story was kind of boring, like I said, nothing really all that great. And just because of that, and you do see, I will say, there is a certain wizard that does appear at the end, someone from the films. I guess I won't spoil it, but you can go ahead and watch it yourself. But it was just okay. I would have to say I would give it a 6, a very, very generous 6 out of 10. It's just absolutely okay, and that's mostly due to the animation. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you.